5, 2024, News Report 1. The Election Commission of India announced the results of the counting on June 5. The National Democratic Alliance, led by the ruling party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, won 293 seats in the lower house of parliament, surpassing the majority mark. The current Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, will continue to lead for another 5 years. However, the BJP, led by Modi, only won 240 seats, a decrease of 63 seats from 2019, failing to reach the majority mark. This is the first time in 10 years that the BJP has lost its absolute majority. The main opposition party, the Indian National Congress, Inc., won 99 seats, an increase of 47 seats from 2019. In 2014, the Inc.-led opposition won a majority, ending the instability of the Indian coalition government, and won a majority again in 2019. In this election, the BJP lost its majority in the lower house, and Modi will need to rely on 3 different regional parties, which have been politically unreliable over the years, so the new government may not be very stable. This result has unsettled investors in India, leading to a sharp decline in the Indian stock market. The BJP's poor performance in the states of Uttar Pradesh and the western region dragged down the overall performance, indicating that Modi's use of Hindu nationalism to boost support has reached its limit, and Indian people are more eager to see substantive economic improvement. Modi stated that he would focus on semiconductor, defense manufacturing, renewable energy, and agriculture in his 3rd term. Reuters previously reported that Indian officials said Modi hoped to expand and strengthen Indian manufacturing in his 3rd term to catch up with China. According to World Bank data, India's share in global manufacturing is only 3%, while China's is 24%, indicating that there is still a long way to go to catch up. A spokesperson for the U.S. State Department stated after the announcement of the Indian election results that the United States will continue to maintain an excellent partnership with India, both at the government and civilian levels, and fully believes that this relationship will continue. News Report 2. According to Newsweek, satellite images analyzed by U.S. intelligence agencies show that China has deployed 6 J-20 fighters at the Ngari Gunsa Air Base in Tibet, near the border with India. Ngari Gunsa is a dual-use airport about 150 kilometers from the Indian border. From May 30 to June 2, the J-20 fighters were stationed at the Ngari Gunsa base, alongside 8 J-10 fighters. Analysts said the J-20 fighters are not permanently deployed at the Ngari Gunsa base, so this deployment is very rare. Retired Indian General Sharma stated that the J-20 fighters are equipped with missiles with a range of over 300 kilometers, and their deployment and exercises in Ngari pose a significant threat to India. In June 2020, India and China clashed in the Galwan Valley on the border, and the relationship between the two countries has remained tense ever since. According to the Indian Express on May 11, India still has 50,000 to 60,000 troops deployed along the actual line of control on the China-India border. China's J-20 fighter is claimed to have stealth capabilities and is a 5th-generation fighter. However, the Indian military stated in 2018 that Indian radars can detect J-20 fighters hundreds of kilometers away. News Report 3. According to Yonhap news agency, South Korean military sources said that after South Korea terminated the 919 military agreement, it will resume artillery exercises on the military demarcation line and northwestern border islands in June. The 919 military agreement was signed in 2018 by then South Korean President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, mainly to stop military confrontation, establish a military buffer zone, and prohibit artillery fire and military exercises within the buffer zone. The buffer zone covers 5 kilometers from each side, totaling 10 kilometers. On November 23 last year, North Korea announced that it would no longer comply with the 919 military agreement and restarted military measures near the military demarcation line. On June 3 this year, South Korea also announced the termination of the agreement, essentially meaning that the agreement has been completely terminated. South Korean military sources said that the exercises will be conducted at 3 designated locations within the land buffer zone, and frontline personnel are already prepared for the exercises. In addition, the South Korean National Intelligence Service stated that North Korea is dismantling some sections of the railway line connecting the two Koreas, completely interrupting the railway connection between North and South Korea. The main function of this railway was to transport relief supplies to North Korea, and the existing industrial area could not operate. In 2000, South Korea and North Korea agreed to restart the Gyeonggi and Donghae railway lines connecting North and South Korea, with the Donghae line passing through the non-military zone, connecting North Korea's Mount Kumgang and South Korea's northernmost station of Jijin. The railway was completed in 2006, but due to the tense relationship between the two sides, it has not been formally put into operation, and the railway has not been able to play a role after its completion. News Report 4. President Biden departed for France on June 4 to attend the 80th anniversary commemoration of the Normandy landings and to make a state visit to France. On June 6, 1944, 156,000 American and Allied troops landed in Normandy, opening a new front against Nazi Germany. Biden will stay in France for 5 days, which is relatively long. White House National Security Council spokesperson Kobe stated that Biden and French President Macron will discuss using frozen Russian assets to aid Ukraine. White House National Security Advisor Sullivan said that Biden will meet with Ukrainian President Zelensky twice during his visit to Europe to discuss resisting Russian aggression. After visiting France, Biden will also attend the G7 summit in Italy to reaffirm the commitment to European allies. Furthermore, according to Bloomberg, during an interview with Time magazine at the White House on the evening of June 4, Biden stated that in the May interview, he criticized Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu for delaying the Gaza war process to stay in power and delaying ceasefire negotiations. This statement has attracted widespread attention. During the interview on the evening of June 4, when asked whether he believed Netanyahu was manipulating politics by using the war, Biden responded that he did not think so, and Netanyahu was dealing with very difficult issues. Biden added that people have every reason to conclude that before the outbreak of the Gaza conflict, Netanyahu faced strong opposition in Israel for promoting constitutional amendments. News Report 5. On June 3, the Canadian National Security and Intelligence Committee submitted a report to the House of Commons, stating that China had intervened in the leadership election campaign of the Conservative Party of Canada. The report also stated that some members of Parliament were aware of or even actively helping foreign governments such as China to intervene in Canadian politics, which is shocking. The report also pointed out that China believed it had a quid pro quo relationship with individual members of certain countries' parliaments, meaning these members had contact with the Chinese Communist Party, and the Chinese government mobilized a large network to support these members, especially among the Chinese diaspora. Last February, the Globe and Mail cited classified documents from the Canadian Security Intelligence Service stating that China had intervened in Canadian elections. In March of last year, Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau asked the National Security and Intelligence Committee to investigate allegations of Chinese interference in Canadian elections. After a year and 3 months of investigation, the committee submitted a report, which stated that the behavior of individual members was worrisome, including frequent communication with foreign embassies and officials to obtain diplomatic support, and mobilizing community groups or businesses to support themselves. The report said this behavior was certainly Chinese because no other country had such capabilities. The report also mentioned that some members accepted funds or benefits from foreign embassies or their agents and concealed the source, pretending not to know. In addition, some members accepted confidential information from foreign officials and knew that this information would be used to pressure them, as well as to exert undue influence on parliamentary colleagues or parliamentary affairs to the advantage of foreign countries. The report described this behavior as essentially treasonous. The report also pointed the finger at the Trudeau government, stating that since 2018, the Trudeau government has been well aware of the need to take foreign interference seriously. However, the government's response has been sluggish, and years of inaction have harmed Canada's democratic rights and basic freedoms, undermined the integrity and credibility of parliamentary procedures, and eroded public trust in the government. The report recommends that all parties re-examine their nomination and leadership competition processes and update the Conflict of Interest Act for both the House and Senate. The report said that on May 3 of this year, Commissioner Hogg of the Foreign Interference in Elections Commission in Canada published the first phase of his report, confirming that China was the most active and resource-intensive in foreign interference in the election. News Report 6. First Financial reported that small and medium-sized banks in China have begun to lower their fixed-term and demand deposit interest rates starting in June. Banks that have lowered their rates include Guangxi Binyang Rural Commercial Bank, Guangdong Qinghai Rural Commercial Bank, and Guangxi Pingle Rural Commercial Bank. After the adjustment, the demand deposit interest rate was lowered from 0.25% to 0.2%, the one-year deposit interest rate was adjusted from 1.78% to 2.1% to 1.7% to 1.9%. And the three-year fixed deposit interest rate was lowered from 2.4% to 3% to 2.2% to 2.8%. The report pointed out that in the past, the pattern of adjusting interest rates was that state-owned banks took the lead, and joint stock banks followed suit. However, the current trend is that small and medium-sized banks take the lead, and large banks follow suit. An analyst from the Financial Market Department of Everbright Bank pointed out that with the continuous decline in loan interest rates, banks' interest margins are continuously narrowing, and banks hope to reduce interest costs by lowering deposit interest rates. In the long run, banks need to invest their funds externally because lack of consumption is detrimental to the economy. For banks, as loan interest rates continue to decline, they can only reduce deposit interest rates. News Report 7. The Daily Economic News reported that Hong Kong jeweler Chow Tai Fook will close its factory in Futian District, Shenzhen, and transfer its production line to Shund. Chow Tai Fook has 3 factories in mainland China, and now it has closed one and transferred production to Shund. Employees of the Shenzhen factory said that Chow Tai Fook gave employees 2 choices, either accept compensation or relocate to Shund. The compensation amount is N+3, not exceeding 30,000. Employees said that even if they choose to relocate to Shund, they may face layoffs because the Shund factory is already saturated and there is insufficient workload. The shutdown notice from Chow Tai Fook stated that the closure of the Shenzhen factory was due to changes in the market environment and the need for business production transformation. Among Chow Tai Fook's 3 factories in China, the Shenzhen factory is a research and development base for designing styles. The Shund factory mainly produces high value-added products, namely relatively expensive products. In addition, Chow Tai Fook has a jewelry ecological industrial park in Wuhan for real estate leasing. Chow Tai Fook is characterized by its innovative styles and terminal sales, and most of its products are produced by other manufacturers. Chow Tai Fook's financial report for the first quarter of this year showed a 2.7% decline in sales in China. Among them, jewelry inlay, platinum, and K-gold jewelry fell by nearly 20%, and the number of stores decreased by 94 from the fourth quarter of last year. One of the reasons for the decline in jeweler revenue is the large fluctuations in gold prices and the rapid increase in prices. Chow Tai Fook chairman Henry Ching said at the shareholders' meeting that the rapid rise in gold prices this year has suppressed consumption. International gold prices have risen to as high as $2,450 per ounce, and have recently fallen to around $2,345. For these jewelers, operating in China has become difficult. News Report 8. This year's National College Entrance Examination, Gaokao, in China began on June 7, with a record high of 13.42 million candidates, an increase of 510,000 from last year. This marks the first time since the resumption of the Gaokao in 1977 that the number of candidates has exceeded 13 million. Among them, there are 4 million re-exam takers, accounting for 1% of the total, also a record high. There are 45 million undergraduate enrollment quotas, 370,000 more than re-exam takers. This year is considered the most difficult year since the expansion of university enrollment, as many parents have booked so-called gaokao rooms, hotels near the exam venues for revision and rest. According to trip data, hotel bookings within a 3-kilometer radius of examination centers nationwide have tripled, leading to a 10% increase in gaokao room prices. According to Kuehner data, the highest number of bookings this year was for chain hotels, accounting for 40%, with new grade hotels accounting for 20%, a slight increase. In addition, the list of political and legal audits for township and township government officials in Anhui province has recently attracted widespread attention on Weibo. One reason is that a PhD in applied physics from Stanford University in the United States applied for a township government official in Anhui. According to online information, the PhD graduated from the University of Science and Technology of China in 2016, and previously obtained a master's degree from Harvard University, ultimately choosing to become a township government official in Anhui. Netizens commented that this reflects the difficult current employment situation, as even highly educated graduates choose a stable life, indicating their concern about social unrest and pursuit of a stable life. News Report 9. According to data released by the Japan Chamber of Commerce and Industry on June 5, the average wage increase for employees of small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, in Japan this year is 3.62%, an increase of 9,662 yen from last year. The average wage increase for small construction or part-time workers is 3.43%. By industry, the service industry has the highest increase at 4.57%, followed by retail at 4%, and communication and information at 3.69%, while the lowest increase is in medical and nursing care at 2.9%. Major companies in the United States and Japan conduct annual spring negotiations, after which large companies adjust wages based on the negotiation results, while SMEs follow suit. However, data from the Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare shows that in April, Japan's inflation-adjusted wages fell by 0.7% year-on-year, reflecting an increase in Japan's cost of living, partially offsetting the wage increase. News Report 10. Data released by the Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare on June 5 showed that Japan's total fertility rate last year was 1.2%, a decrease of 0.06 percentage points from the previous year, 2022, hitting the lowest level since 1947, and declining for 8 consecutive years. Among them, Tokyo has the lowest total fertility rate, at only 0.99. The total fertility rate refers to the average number of children a woman has in her lifetime, not expressed as a percentage, but as a number, such as 1 or 1 plus. According to demographic theory, to maintain a stable population, the total fertility rate needs to reach 2.1, which means each woman needs to have slightly more than 2 children. Last year, Japan saw 720,000 newborns, a decrease of 40,000 from the previous year, hitting a new low since statistics began in 1899. The number of deaths in Japan last year was 1.57 million, an increase of 6,800, hitting a record high. In comparison, China's total fertility rate last year was 1.0, meaning that women of childbearing age averaged only 1 child, lower than Japan. China's birth population was 9.02 million, also hitting a new low since 1949. International standards suggest that a total fertility rate below 1.5 will enter a low fertility trap, making it very difficult to raise the fertility rate. China's total fertility rate has dropped below 1. News Report 11. Since visiting mainland China, Fu Kuan-chi, the convener of the Kuomintang Legislative Yuan Caucus, has become the shadow chairman of the Kuomintang. He plans to pass the Huadong 3 laws, proposed before the end of the Legislative Yuan session on July 16. These three laws include a special bill for the construction of new highways and ring railways in Hualien and Taitung, requiring the government to complete these projects within 10 years, involving a budget of about 250 billion new Taiwan dollars. Fu said that the passage of these bills will accelerate the transportation construction in eastern Taiwan and reduce the development gap between the east and west. However, these bills have sparked widespread controversy. Many people criticize the unreasonable amount of these bills, believing that they are a waste of public funds. There are also internal divisions within the Kuomintang, with some supporting the bills and others calling for a delay in pushing the bills, and first conducting financial, engineering, and environmental feasibility studies. Fu Kuan-chi has become active since visiting mainland China, but there is no unified leadership position within the Kuomintang on him. Some believe that his actions violate the basic principle of the separation of powers, as infrastructure should be the responsibility of the executive branch, not the legislative branch.